Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I think this is the last one I'm going to do today before I retire for the evening. But this is so interesting. I was like, maybe I'll do it later. I was like, no, I want to do it right now. I haven't really done anything in a video quite like this. There is a video where someone commissioned me and Ned, my brother, to read a Choose Your Own Adventure on camera, which was a lot of fun. This is something that's not quite like that, but is a different kind of fiction, and I'm very intrigued to do this. So this is for Caroline. This is their Patreon commission for the month of, actually for last month, December, because I didn't get to do this. They were trying to figure out what they wanted. They gave me this idea. I was like, yes, I have to do this. So what this is, this video will comprise 5 stories. Each story is what is called a 3-minute mystery. So I will read each one is about 3 to 4 pages long, and then I will attempt to solve it. And then when I turn the page, I'll determine whether I'm correct or not. So I'm going to do this first one. This first one is called Think Globally, Steal Locally. Police Detective Carol Simmons followed store owner Alice Mendoza around the crowded shop as she inventoried her losses. My questions might be easier to answer if you focus on them. I'm sorry, Detective, but I want to get the insurance claim in as quickly as possible so I can pay my suppliers. The shop specialized in handcrafted items from all over the world. That much Detective Simmons had gathered from the items on the shelves. The insurance company might not process your claim until they get my report. Miss Mendoza finally stopped. Okay, point taken. What else is it you need to know? For the thief to walk in the front door and confess would be nice. What can you tell me about the masked man who locked you in the back room? Just what I said. Medium height, medium build, black hoodie, blue jeans, sneakers, and the mask. What did he say to you exactly? He told me to go into the back room, that I wouldn't be hurt if I cooperated, that he'd gone in under 10 minutes. He just wanted the cash and things easy to sell. Alice barked a short laugh. Easy to sell, I can tell you this much, he doesn't own a store. Was his voice familiar? I didn't hear anything distinctive in his voice. You have to remember it was muffled by the mask, and he didn't want to be recognized, he might have been disguising his voice. Detective Simmons nodded. Have you let any employees go in the past 6 months? Matt Wilson, about 6 weeks ago. I can no longer afford the hours, but I gave him a great reference. Do you know if he's found work? Nobody's called me to check up on his employment here. Which might mean nothing. Was he angry when you let him go? He wasn't happy, of course. Could Matt have been the man who robbed you today? I suppose, although I'd rather not believe that. Matt worked for me for almost a year and gave me no cause for complaint. Detective Simmons nodded. Is there anyone who's unhappy with you at the moment? I can't think of anyone who would want to do something like this. It's one thing to yell at me on the phone, quite another to commit armed robbery. Well, who yelled at you on the phone? My ex, but it's nothing. Is it nothing? We have totally different approaches to raising children, which is probably why he's my ex. Does he live in this area? Oh, I'm sorry, does his live in the area? A couple towns over. Alice gave Detective Simmons his full name and address. Just one more question. Have you noticed anyone hanging around the store, maybe not buying anything, who might have been here to plan the robbery? There was one guy last week who creeped me out. I watched him carefully, but he didn't take anything. He was probably in here 20 minutes just looking around. You ever see him before? Alice shook her head. Could you describe him? Average, maybe brown eyes. This was last week, but there definitely was a creep in his facts. I don't know what caused it, just a feeling. Visible tattoos, piercings, facial hair. He was left-handed. I noticed that whenever he lifted something to examine it closer. Alice's eyes went wide. So was the robber. He took the money out of the register with his left hand. Well, that's very helpful. And you never saw him before he came in the store that day. Not that I'm confused. Hold on, I might need to go back and read something. Not that I recall. Okay, Alice, that's all I need for the moment, but I'll be in touch. Do you think you'll be able to find him? Oh, I'm sure I'll be able to make an arrest. Why is Detective Simmons so confident? Oh, okay, no, that's now. Now is the time where I have to review what I know. The masked man who locked you in the back room. Did the locked room have a window? The only reason I say that is because there's a point saying, so was the robber. He took the money out of the register with his left hand. But you were locked in a back room. How did you know that? That's my guess. That's my guess. Because, no, why did you say that? So think, okay, here we go. Solution. Detective Simmons is confident she can make an arrest because she suspects Alice Mendoza of robbing her own store. Once Alice started talking, she didn't know when to stop, and she mentioned in detail, yes! He took the money from the register with his left hand that she couldn't have seen while locked in the back room. Mark as a detective, sign me up for the X-Files. Here we go. All right. Number 2. A dying clue. Detective Laura McKinley pushed the box of tissue closer to the victim's wife. Take your time. I always told Matt that opening that restaurant would kill him. He never listened to anything I said. Stacy dabbed her eyes. And how long has he run Halftreads? 9 long years, since he turned 50. The raven-haired woman flashed a quick smile. Halvtrevs is 50 in Danish. Your husband's family was from Denmark. His grandmother. Matt said he missed her cooking. Stacy sniffed. When he told me that, I suggested we drive to the nearest place with a suitable menu, or I could learn to prepare some of his favorite dishes. But no, he had to quit his job and open a restaurant. Still open 7 years later. The place didn't fail in the first 3 years like so many do. No, Matt really made it work. He paid more attention to that restaurant than he did to me. Apparently, without thinking, Stacy wrung the dampened tissue. And what does he have to show for all the restaurant's success? A thief enters a premises after closing and shoots Matt dead. But there's also some emotional conflict going on here, see? Detective McKinley nodded as though she agreed with the scenario. Before your husband died, he started to leave a message. He only got as far as writing what looks like an S. At least it was over quickly. Your name begins with an S. That's my first thought. I was like, oh, it's her name. Detective McKinley paused, waiting to see how the new widow responded. Lots of names do. For that matter, you don't even know if he was trying to write a name. He might have been describing someone. A son, for instance? Why did you choose that last example? Have your son and husband been at odds? Stacy jerked forward. Harold isn't my son. He's Matt's from an earlier marriage. Harold is a disagreeable young man who resents me to this very day. He thinks I'm the reason that marriage failed. He calls me the leech. Can you believe that? Not just when referring to me, to my face. I can understand your anger. Detective McKinley shifted. How did your husband respond to that kind of behavior? Stacy tore the tissue in half. All he did was make excuses for Harold. What kind of relationship did they have? Matt always met him for dinner without me, but afterwards my husband would repeat what Harold wanted, because Harold always wanted something. Stacy huffed, pushing the pieces of tissue aside. You won't believe the latest demand. Harold pressured my husband to sell his share of the restaurant and give the money to Harold so he could start his own business, some ridiculous scheme about building underground swimming pools. Matt's share of the restaurant? What do you mean by that? Well, 2 years ago, Matt brought in some silent partner, Hugh Starling. My husband needed cash to renovate the kitchen, and he had money to invest. Starling, that's another S. Any conflict there? Stacy shook her head. It's the perfect arrangement, really. Harold writes the monthly check representing his small percentage of the profits, and Starling deposits it. Starling's interest is purely financial. He's not involved in the day-to-day. Detective McKinley made some notes in her pad. Do you know what happens with the restaurant now that your husband has died? Stacy nodded. I helped draft the partnership agreement. If Starling buys me out, which I'm certain he will only to increase his percentage, he'll own it, probably hiring someone to run the place. Well, how would you feel about that? As far as I'm concerned, Starling can have the place, and good riddance. Well, if he buys you out, you could help Harold with his business. I suppose I could, yes. Not that I ever would. I don't expect I'll ever see Harold again after the funeral. The funeral? Stacy grabbed another tissue. I still can't believe he's gone. Do you have any leads as to who killed my husband? Detective McKinley paused to reflect on everything she learned in the interview. Come to think of it, I do. Okay. Oh, God. I don't actually know this one. I felt so confident after the first one. I was like, yeah, I've got this. No, I don't. I mean, the guy's death benefits Stacy quite well, because Starling can buy her out of her partnership. I'm going to say Stacy did it, just because, damn it. Okay, here we go. Stacy did it. To make the effort of leaving a dying clue, Matt must have known he was dying, because of that he would have wanted to communicate quickly and clearly. While an S is quick to make, in this case it wasn't quite clear who Matt might have meant. Stacy, son, Sterling. Writing an S wasn't enough to point to his killer. Perhaps what he'd written out wasn't an S, but a 5. The only meaningful clue, starting with a 5, could have been 50, pointing directly to Haltred's, and the partner who killed Mac to make sure he didn't sell it to someone else. God damn it! That is a different... See, I approached it differently. I should have thought about the clue. God damn it. All right, so the next one is called Cream of the Crop. Ooh, let me get some water for this one. Jessica Taylor sat at the conference table across from 2 police detectives and a video camera aimed at her from atop a short tripod. Since she had nothing to hide, she shouldn't feel the least bit nervous. So why did she? Detective Wilson broke the silence. Again, we're sorry for your loss. Were you close to Mr. Baldwin? Oh, hopefully this is about Adam Baldwin. No, okay. Jessica hesitated before answering. He was the boss. Don't worry, we're talking to everybody, and the only reason we tape these interviews is that then we don't have to take notes. Right now, we're just trying to get a sense of office politics and relationships. That's easy. When we were purchased, we were told Mr. Baldwin was sent here because he was their top manager and that we were to assume his word was law. Detective Handler leaned forward. It must be nice to have that kind of power. There was nothing nice about Mr. Baldwin. I don't know, maybe he resented being sent here, or maybe they sent him to us for the sake of wherever he was, but he's a miserable person who seemed to want to make everybody else. Jessica bit her tongue, not wanting to speak ill of the dead. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking about him this way. Of course you should. We need to hear the truth if we're going to solve his murder. Detective Wilson jumped in. We already know he wasn't universally loved, or he wouldn't have been poisoned. So it was poison. What a horrible way to die. That's her thought. It's interesting because this is from the perspective of Jessica. Well, that's what people have been saying. Somebody slipped it into his cream. Jessica shook her head, thinking the irony delicious. Mr. Baldwin and his cream. He keeps that glass carafe in the break room refrigerator, but marks the level after every pour, just to be sure none of us are stealing his precious cream. Nobody ever sneaks. We wouldn't dare. Before he started marking the carafe, he thought somebody might have helped themselves. He went ballistic. Detective Handler glanced at the ceiling. Anyone in particular take the brunt of that? Well, when Mr. Baldwin wanted to make a point, he treated everybody equally badly. With the cream that time, he even punished Mildred, and she was on vacation that week. Did he often single out Mildred? Mildred, Gary, Chandra, me? It didn't make any difference who you were. If Mr. Baldwin played favorites, he must have reserved that for his old employees. Okay, so everyone has motive, but sounds like Mildred has the most. Detective Handler met her eyes. Did Mr. Baldwin not have a single friend in the entire building? Even if someone did somehow develop any kind of positive feelings towards him, they'd never let that be known. They couldn't afford to. We'd never forgive them for betraying the rest of the group. That's an interesting line. Detective Wilson chuckled. You sure you don't hold an office pool? Whoever won got to poison the cream? No, of course not. We might not have liked Mr. Baldwin, but we didn't want him dead. Somebody did. Jessica couldn't argue with that. Somebody obviously had. But who? Nobody came into the office except the people who work here, which meant that one of them did it. Jessica actually worked with a murderer. Detective Handler studied her face. What? Nothing. It's just that maybe you're accustomed to dealing with killers, but these are my coworkers. I spend 8 hours a day with these people. So you probably know them well. Has anyone been acting different lately? I caught Chandra crying in the bathroom the other day. I'd never seen that before. Gary, he's been talking to me in the parking lot about this other job he's trying to get. What about Mildred? She's just biding her time. She documents everything. She says that at some point our corporate overlords will pay us a visit, and that's when she intends to bury Mr. Baldwin. Oh, that didn't sound right. Okay, so... God, we know what you mean. And how about you? I thought Mr. Baldwin was miserable here. I happened to see something in his computer once, a request a transfer out. It mustn't have been easy for him being so disliked. Jessica paused for a moment, going over everything she'd said to the detectives, and what she hadn't said because she just realized it now. I think I know who killed him. Okay, wait, hold on. So we've got Mildred, who he punished when she wasn't even there. Well, everyone was punished, but Mildred was on vacation and got punished for something that was literally impossible. Chandra crying in the bathroom the other day. I wonder if it has to do with the markings on... How could you... Okay, if you add a poison, wouldn't it make the thing go higher than the mark? Gary's been talking to me in the parking lot about this other job. Mildred is just biding her time. She's documenting everything. Maybe it's that documenting everything and the attention to detail. I think it's Mildred. That's my guess. It's Mildred. Jessica suspected Chandra, who Jessica caught crying in the bathroom. Mr. Baldwin felt hated at the office. He might have allowed himself to get involved in an office romance if both would have needed to keep quiet. If he ever hoped to transfer out, Mr. Baldwin couldn't risk getting caught, so it made sense that he would have broken things off with her. I still think... I get that. That's a bit of a leap, though, isn't it? The office romance? That's a bit much. Wouldn't you think it would be Mildred? Interesting. I don't like that one. Okay, the all-knowing eye. Here we go. Number 4. Detective Pamela Yates watched Barry click through the menus of the surveillance software. Nick Jones, I almost said Nick Jonas. Let's just say Nick Jonas is in this now. The director of Nyman House apologized to Detective Yates for keeping her waiting. If they hadn't called Barry here, I probably would have deleted the video trying to figure out how to find the footage. No problem. With no witnesses and no prints, Detective Yates was more than happy to wait as long as necessary for information that might help her solve this. Anything that helps me catch the person or persons who robbed you is worth however long it takes. Nick pointed at the screen. There. Nobody should have been in the back parking lot at that hour. Barry paused the playback, and Detective Yates leaned forward to get a better view. Unfortunately, a better view was a relative term. The person caught walking across the back lot towards the rear door was probably male, maybe on the short side, and definitely wearing an oversized dark jacket with a baseball cap bill tipped to obscure his or her face. Brian, can you advance that slowly? Sure. He clicked some keys, and the person on the screen moved forward until he or she exited the frame. The detective sighed. While she always hoped surveillance video would provide easy identification of the culprit, between people who were now expected to be captured on camera, sites that weren't adequately lit, and systems simply configured poorly, the promise of a silver bullet didn't always materialize. Don't worry, detective, the director reassured her. There might be more on the inside shots. We'll see. To Brian, she continued, can you show me the cameras in the room where the statue was kept? Okay, it's a statue. The three of them watched the perpetrator enter the room, cross the expanse, and steal the jade sculpture before exiting the same way he or she entered. The three of them watched the trip 4 times at different angles, each captured by a different camera. The thief never touched anything without a gloved hand, never once exposed his or her features. Which means they had to know where the cameras were, right? Right? Detective V8 shook her head. The least he could have done for me was drop his wallet. Don't be discouraged yet, Detective. Brian saved the best for last. Really? What? There's an inside camera that's hidden. The rest of the cameras, I got them for deterrent once the Jade Dragon was donated to us. That's why the ones at the front and the back entrances are so obvious. Oh. Detective Yates felt her pulse quicken. Where is the hidden camera located? The back hall. Since Brian was here installing the system to safeguard our treasure, I thought I might as well spend a little more time and finally discover which of my employees has been stealing items from the supply closet. Oh. Shit. So we've got Barry and Brian. Anyway, okay. Detective Yates loved the idea that a camera installed to catch someone stealing a roll of toilet paper might identify the thief of a statue worth more than $50,000. Brian moved the mouse and clicked, bringing up another frame. One camera with multiple lenses that had camouflaged with some shelving right across from the door to the supply closet. The detective whistled with appreciation. The camera this time appeared lower, near enough to face level, to view a widescreen capture of anyone walking down the hall. Brian clicked the play button. They watched someone pass down the hall, hat lowered and face averted, their head not quite reaching the midpoint of the frame. The breath went out of Detective Yates. All this video, and all she had was a short male, possibly a female. So much for easy answers. I don't know. The manager scratched his head. I'm even more suspicious of Eric now. Who's Eric? He was hired by the director before me, and it didn't take me long to determine he was padding his hours. I spoke to him about it, but he persisted, somehow believing it was his due. I had no choice but to fire him. You remember his last name? Eric Kennedy. I still have all his paperwork. When did you fire him? 3 months ago, maybe, but I saw him last week and he was angry as the day I walked him to the door. He said he'd make sure I got what I had coming to me. Detective Yates made notes on the disgruntled ex-employee. Could you do me a favor and check on that paperwork? Certainly. Brian spun the chair to face him. Is that all you need me for? Ever since I bought those advertisements, I've got new customers coming out of the woodwork. Detective Yates thought for a second. Actually, there is one more thing I'd like you to show me. What? Okay, wait, I need to go back to the part where the back hall. Since Brian was here installing the system to safeguard our treasure, I thought I might as well spend a little more and finally discover which of my employees had been stealing items from the supply closet. Brian's the only one who knew all of it was there then, and knew to not look into the supply closet and not cover his head. It's Brian. Brian. Detective Yates wants Brian to show her how tall he is. Any thief might be aware enough to take precautions against visible surveillance camera, but only the person who installed the system would know enough to take precautions to avert his face from hidden cameras. The other suspect, Eric Kennedy, he was already gone by the time the system was put in. Oh, I didn't notice that detail. Oh my god, I didn't even notice the time thing. Yes, but I was right. You got it. In your face. I'm back on the case. Sign me up, Mulder. Okay, here we go. Fifth one. Last one. Will I get 3 out of 5? Models of bad behavior. Officer Dana Cook stood just inside the luxury apartment, her job being to both watch the witnesses waiting to be interviewed by the detectives in the next room and to make sure the media and anyone else who didn't belong here weren't allowed entrance to the crime scene. Dana wasn't overly familiar with the world of fashion models, but listening to these people talk, she counted herself lucky. The victim's agent, Missy May, waved her arms as she ranted. A million times I told Kayla not to buy this apartment on the East Coast. She belongs in Hollywood where the real people live. Brad Tyler, the victim's personal chef, glared at Missy. Hello, dear. I live on the East Coast, and I'm a real person. Your claim to fame is whipping up white egg omelets with a dab of sour cream for our anorexic princess, whenever she retreated to this miserable town. New York, I told her. If you simply must leave California, at least stay in the city. Brad crossed his arms. And your only claim to fame is negotiating an ironclad contract with a model you nearly worked to death. Wendell Holmes, the victim's manager, raised a hand. We're all emotional here, but there's no need for anybody to fly off the handle. Each of us is grieving. We've each lost a close personal friend, but if we hang tight, we can get through this. Brad jumped to his feet. You two are nothing but bloodsuckers, and she knew that. She was leaving the business for me. Missy May laughed. Right. She was going to throw away tens of millions of dollars a year to be with someone who used to flip eggs at a diner. She loved me. Wendell Holmes shook his forehead. She fantasized about having what she called a simple life. It was a game she played with herself whenever she started to feel the stress of being successful. You were the simpleton part of that fantasy. You were nothing but her drug supplier, Wendell. Dang! What the hell? This is dramatic! Brad. I guess our little princess wasn't the only one with an overly active imagination. She called you two here to say she wanted out. Missy May smiled. She asked us to fly out to help her celebrate her latest contract, which is worth more than you and your family, dating back to whenever your ancestors jumped the ship anchored offshore. What is that a reference to? Well, at least I'm not held together by plastic surgery. Wow, shit! These people are brutal. Again, Wendell raised a hand. People, let's try to be civil. It's the least we can do for her. Oh my god. What about Officer Dana Cook? Is she just observing this? Brad jabbed a finger in the manager's direction. You know about doing the least for her. As long as she kept earning you 20%, that's all you cared about. Wendell pursed his lips. The detectives mentioned something about her being stabbed by a kitchen knife. And one of them's a cook. Missy May, when was the last time you stepped into the kitchen? I had that room ripped out so I could have another walk-in closet. Excuse me. Of course. Who doesn't have their food delivered? Oh, that's right, Brad here. I had stepped out to buy fresh shallots when she was murdered. Allowing you to very conveniently discover the body, Wendell sneered. You must think the police are morons not to notice she was killed with your personal knife. Well, okay. That's what I suspected. I didn't bring my tools to the store with me. Either of you two could have used it on her. Missy May laughed. You think I would actually stab my client? Darling, I have people who cut my food for me. Ah! That's terrifying. She turned to Wendell. Doesn't everyone? Brad here doesn't. He's a do-it-yourselfer who snapped today when he was discovered she had no intention of ever returning to that pathetic kind of life. Maybe he was good for an omelet or two. Maybe even a meaningless affair. But the fantasy he nurtured of the two of them settling down together, she would have set him straight quick. Missy May nodded. She probably invited us here not only to celebrate, but to share the laugh. Detective Nickerson excused himself as he entered the room. Who wants to be next? Officer Cook caught his eye and then whispered when he came closer, I think there's something you should know before you interview them. What the fuck would it be? I don't think it's the cook. Who stands to lose the most by this? It's Missy May and Wendell. They both make money for them. But of the two, I think it's Wendell. I think it's Wendell Holmes. That's my guess. 20%. He gets 20% of all she earns. That's my guess. It's Wendell. So, Officer Cook plans to summarize what she overheard and then come back to the highlights. First, personal chef Brad Tyler thought the dead model wanted out of the business, which would have given the others motive. Second, and more significantly, her manager appeared to know more about the murder weapon than he should. Although, of course, it only made sense that Wendell Holmes knew the knife What knife killed the victim since he was the one who committed the murder? Fuck! Oh, I was right, but for the wrong reason. Which, whatever. Oh, fuck, I missed that little detail. Oh my god. That was fun. Thank you, Caroline. What an interesting choice for commission. That's awesome. I love getting to do fun, interesting things that are very different. Thank you very much. This is very entertaining.